Well, it's Friday. Every Friday we have what we call Lifestyle Friday. And today I have an amazing guest just for you. I will be introducing her to you shortly, talking to us about her journey in the fashion and design industry. And I know that will be inspirational to you. But for now, tuangalie magazeti. Hey, mimi nakwambia. I think sometimes I've always wondered, are there people who their job is just to come up with headlines? There's nothing else you do the whole day. You just think of tomorrow's headline and you come up with some of those headlines. Mtu akiangalia hivi anasema, I have to buy that newspaper. So it's all about the coronavirus today, enemies of the people. That's the big, bold declaration on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Coronavirus, 4 cabinet secretaries are facing serious credibility questions after allowing an airline to fly in 239 passengers from China, the epicenter of coronavirus outbreak, risking the lives of 48 million Kenyans. And their faces are there for all Kenyans to see that these are the enemies of the people. Nakuambia. Let's look inside. What else is making headlines here? 5 killed, dozens injured in another night of terror and tears. It says 5 people were killed in Kisauni and Mishomoroni slums on Wednesday night as residents engaged suspected members of a local criminal gang in battle. Telling you, there's so many things we are facing as Kenyans. The threats of coronavirus, locusts are still all over the place. All these vigilante groups, Mungu atusaidie. What else is here? Something on Sonko. Sonko now takes credit for State House transfer deal. It says governor denies that he was summoned and ambushed with the agreement to transfer county functions. Haya, wacha tungoje tusikie how that will turn out. There's quite a bit on politics. Mambo na BBI. You can update yourself if that's your cup of tea. And then 1,700 police officers get their first promotion after 30 years. You think about that. You've been working and you've never gotten a promotion. 30 years later is when you're getting a promotion. Wow. The officers were all constables and were promoted to the rank of corporal. Hey, I'm telling you, I don't even know what to say to that. I'm trying to imagine if I'm the one working in the same job for 30 years, I've never seen a promotion. I don't think this generation can be able to cut through that. This generation, they like moving from one place to another, to another, to another. I can't imagine millennials working in one place for 30 years without a promotion. My friend, utabaki ukiangalia ukuta peke yako. They will have moved on. Nowadays, they move on after 6 months. At this one, I don't feel this job. If a millennial stays with you for a year, you thank the Lord. That's a miracle, man. Those ones are long-suffering. Nowadays, me, I just didn't feel that job. How are you going to survive? It's not a big deal. I'll find another. I mean, sometimes when I talk to young people, I wish I had that courage when I was their age. On the pull-out, being Friday's the Pulse magazine, all about entertainment, Queens of Alua, you can find out what that is all about. There's quite a bit here as well on fashion, which we'll get to hear more about. And looking at the back pages, I can see quite a bit on soccer, both international and local, and also quite a bit on boxing and some golfing. All eyes on local stars for Kenya Open. So if you're a golfing fan, look out for that. Ni hayo tu kwa magazeti ya leo. You can grab yourself a copy, keep yourself informed on what's happening, both locally and also internationally. I have a question for you as we get into our discussion for today. Do you have any clothes made in Kenya by a Kenyan designer? Ama hata ule fundi. Unajua ule wa kitenge? Yeah? Do you have any, do you own, do you wear any Kenyan made attire? Talk to me, 20316 SMS line, WhatsApp number 0786 316 316. Friday is here with us again, Lifestyle Friday. Today, I am so blessed to host an international fashion designer. My friend, she's a wife, she's a mother, she's a preacher. That one really got me. She's also a mentor. And some of the who's in who in society have adorned her designs, and it is such a wonderful thing to have her in studio today. She's dressed the First Lady of Kenya, Margaret Kenyatta. She's dressed Martha Karua. among other people. I mean, by the time your clothes are getting there, this is when when the camera comes on you, you say, "Hi, Mom, I reached, I got to the top." Akinyi Odongo, it is good to have you.
Thank you.
Karibu studio.
Asante sana.
You know, when we were thinking of who do we bring to talk about fashion, and my producer suggested you. And then she told me, by the way, do you know she's born again?
Oh.
I thought, wow, perfect person to come. And I'm saying that because sometimes as Christians, you know, we are a bit laid back on some of these things.
Yeah.
So to have someone like you achieving what you are continually achieving, and you profess Christ and you're not ashamed of the name of Christ, for me that's a blessing. Because how else do we take dominion? This is how we take dominion.
Exactly.
So let me rewind the tape, to get to know you a bit better. If somebody was to ask you who is Akinyi Odongo, what would you say?
Akinyi Odongo is a child of God and who has been saved by the grace of God.
Yes.
I love the Lord Jesus as my personal savior.
When did you get saved?
In high school, over 25 years ago.
See Form 4, just before the exams.
I think it was just about Form 4, you know, when you're getting scared.
We are many.
We are many, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, actually it was when I was in Form, like, hey, God, I need to put myself, you know,
Yes.
I need to pass.
Yes.
Sasa lazima nijipange.
Yes.
You know, and I think God took me over from there, and
wow.
I've never looked back. In as much it's been a long journey, a journey that is full of challenges and lots of challenges.
Wow.
Lots of challenges, but God has been faithful. He has been faithful.
We are more than conquerors.
Oh yeah, more than conquerors.
Yes.
Yes.
So have you always been artistic? Have you always loved the arts, or is this something that grew on you as you kept growing up?
To me, as a little child, I grew up. I was born in a village called Rangala. That is in Siaya County. My God, I went to that school, that village, everything. Tembea Mgutufu, you know. You know. So all this is the grace of God.
Wow.
So I'm in a space where being brought up in the village and doing the farming, going to till the land, going to school.
Yeah.
And doing all these things. And then my grandfather was a pastor, one of the first pastors in the village. Wow. And we have a church in our home. So,
as in your home?
In our home, like nyuma ya ushago kuna kanisa.
Kuna kanisa.
Yes.
Wow.
So I grew up around, and I was very close to my grandfather, who, when I was going to preach as a little, I was always with him. So I grew around the word as a child. And I was very creative as well, dancing, singing. I was everything. In school, I was in all the clubs. You know,
oh my goodness.
I think my parents had an issue like, you're always everywhere, you know. And I think it was really hard for me to get my space because, again, many people think that being very in mathematics, science, all this, and then you're the best child, or you're the clever one. Yeah. But when you're in the creative area, then people perceive that is not, it can't be a profession. So for me, walikosa akili, or they failed in school, or they're not very bright. Yeah. And I've come to realize with years that I've had to really create that space. And I was deliberate to, of course, after high school, I went for military training, which also helped me with a lot of discipline. And, you know, when it's right, turn left, turn right.
Went for military training.
So it has also helped me in terms of being disciplined in whatever I do, and keeping to my word. Yeah. And when it's a yes, it's a yes. When it's a no, it's a no. Okay. And just having the boundaries. When I was getting into the fashion industry, it was a space that, number one, people perceive that you can't be born again and be in the creative industry. Yes. And to be precise, in fashion. Because world over, the type of people that are in fashion, probably people have different connotation to them. And I was very deliberate when I was getting into this space that as a child of God and someone who professes Jesus as their personal savior, that every platform that I got, I always spoke about God.
Wow.
You go to YouTube, go to any international interviews I've done,
Yeah.
any local interviews I've done, any platform I've been able to speak, I always acknowledge God.
That's good.
And for me, that had to create, I had to create a foundation.
Yes.
And know that and tell people that this is who I am, irrespective of whatever platform that I'm able to find, that this is who I am. I'm a born-again Christian. I am a mother. I am a normal human being.
Yes.
And it is fashion that is feeding me. Fashion is what I drive. Fashion is where I stay. Fashion is what I eat. And also, it wasn't really believed. Even my parents were like, really?
In fact, I was going to ask you.
That's what you want to do. And everybody else. Because even if I go to the village right now, they say, Anashonanga nguo uko Nairobi. so it's not really, she's busy. Like,
No.
Anashonanga tu nguo. But with time, as it went on and I started now growing my business to the international level, because I was very, very, very deliberate and say, you know what, I must, the Bible says that it's a gift that will make you stand before kings.
Yes. Yes.
Show me a man,
Yes.
with a gift. And indeed, that particular verse has been part of my life. I've stood before kings and queens of this world. I've been able to represent Kenya all over the world and in different platforms. I've been able to dress, very high-level people across the world. And I don't take it, for granted, and neither do I owe it to myself. I owe it all to God, because it has been a journey for me also to mentor and encourage people. And as I started this journey, I was very intentional as well and say, Jehovah, Lord, you've given me this opportunity, and I want to grow it to the level that every other growing up aspiring designer or child can look up and say, I can do it, Akinyi did it.
Yes.
Because one of the challenges that we have is that parents would ask their children, you want to be a designer, show me one. Show me one successful designer, then I will allow you. And I realized that there were actually not many that they can show. So I was very, very deliberate to say, God, may I be that person that a child somewhere who has a dream to be a designer, a person who has a dream to be will say, Mom, Dad, Akinyi Odongo.
I love that about you, because sometimes I find as believers, when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, we have this timidity that we think is humility. And so we don't think big. You don't think past the local kiosk. You don't think past your estate. And here we have you who's thinking on an international scale. And because you've had the faith to think on that scale, then God begins to open doors for you. Definitely. That for me is such an inspiration.
I mean, I wish I could get a conference to speak to Christians in terms of believing in themselves and to just acknowledge the power that they have and power to change the surrounding and power to change the areas that you've been called. As if in the fashion industry, I've been able also to just push a lot of stuff. I think maybe my military training also helped me to be very bold and to be very firm. So like when I decided that I want to go international and probably I didn't have enough money to do that, I said, what do I have in my hands? And that's another discussion, because I'm a believer on what you have in your hands. Sometimes you think that you need so much money to do some things, yet you just need an idea or someone to hold your hand or something. And I started looking back and saying, also as a Kenyan citizen, as a taxpayer, we have institutions that are put by the government. And I started the journey of now involving the government institutions and knocking those doors and saying, hey, what is this office doing here? I want to go for export. There's Export Promotion Council. And I had to go to that office and find out, what do you do? What are the details? And I was amazed that the government has done research, market research, almost every part of the world. They have documentation. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. you know. And if it's an issue I have with foreign affairs, I would go to the Office of Foreign Affairs. And if it's introducing myself to the CS or the PS, I would do that.
Yes.
And I learned that even as citizens or as Christians, we say we are 80% Christians, yet whatever we see on the ground, kwa ground vitu ni different. I learned that by going to look for that information, then you're more informed. Because I don't think God has chosen us to be timid or to just sit and wait for things to fall on our lap. Yes. No, I'm a Christian. I'm not a believer of just sitting down and waiting and praying from morning till evening and saying,
pray and then you do something.
You have to do something. Because even the Bible is very clear, without work, you don't need to eat.
I'm telling you. Wow. take me back to the first job you got that you realized, okay, I think my business is now getting to another level. You know, you make clothes for so-and-so here, your friends, your family, but there's a client you get, and because they have believed in you and in your brand, you realize, wow, I think God is taking me to another client, to another level. Who was that client for you?
Hey, I've dealt with lots of clients. And to me, I always say in every platform that I go that I don't have any preference to any particular client, because I have to acknowledge that at every level, every client is important. Even the first one that I was when I was charging 500 shillings, that's a very important client because they believed in me when I wasn't, I didn't have a shop and I was still working from home or walking around the streets of Nairobi and just meeting strangers and say, can I please stitch for you? And you're like, who are you?
Really, you did that?
Oh, yes, I did that. Oh, my God.
Your military looks idea.
Yeah,
that is boldness on a whole new level, I'm telling you.
No, but you see, when you're passionate about something and you want to do, and you will do it. I look around and see young people or people saying, oh, there are no jobs. I mean, there are jobs everywhere. There are jobs everywhere. I tell people you can still choma mahindi and grow it to that international level. People viewed me as a fundi. Ule fundi wanguo. I mean, there was and they rubbished me, like, nothing really serious. I mean, later, whatever. Now they look at me like, hiya. How? Yeah. So I have a fashion school, I have a mentorship program, I have a children fashion school as well.
Yes.
And that's the space that God has called me in. And I purposely want to mentor and grow that industry and create a legacy.
Yes.
So that people can say that I want my daughter to do it. So to me, there are jobs everywhere. I don't know where the camera is so that I can face and tell Kenyans. I mean, like, do not just sit there and get discouraged and think that there's nothing you can do. Everything is a business opportunity. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Everything is a business opportunity. Talk to us a bit about the journey of breaking into this market. Because, we see you now. There's that person who's desiring to be where you are, and they're seeing you now. But before you got here, there's a journey you've walked.
Yeah.
Has it been an easy journey? Has it been a hard journey? If it's been hard, what kept you going?
I think if everything was easy, then everybody would be doing it.
Yes.
And I want to say that my journey has not been an easy journey. It has been, I say, sweet and sour.
I like that.
I would say sweet and sour. Because there's a portion where it's a bit, when it's sweet, you get some money or something is moving, and then it gets a bit sour because either you don't have a business license, you don't have capital, but you keep pushing. And that's what I say. I think when you know what your purpose is, and you have the intent of doing it, and you push yourself, it's intentional that this is what I want to do, and you believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you'll find people who tell you, oh, how now? It can't work. I've got incidences where people told me, oh, it will never work. That idea will never work. Who tells you can be international? I mean, who has ever done it?
What have you been smoking?
Like, what makes you think you're different? How can you start using your own name as a brand? and no one will ever buy it, or you're from this tribe and it is this tribe that has money, so that tribe won't buy it. I mean, you hear things and I'm like, Heavenly Father, these people, I'm a Christian, I'm a child of God. Gold and silver belongs to God. And I don't think you're coming to buy from me because I'm from a certain tribe, but you're coming to buy from me because I have quality. So for me, it's about, what are you giving? And the journey hasn't been easy. You will be discouraged. People won't believe in your dream. People will discourage you and say, it has never worked. Where are you doing? Who do you think you are? Especially someone like me who was from a village. Nobody knows my father. Nobody knows my mother. And then there are people who perceive, oh, you must have known someone. I'm like, I know no one. The only person I know is God. He's my defender. And report to duty. The rest is God's. But when you don't report to duty, what do you expect God to bless? You have to show up. You have to show up. We must show up.
Wow. A friend of mine once told me that when he was setting up his business, one of the first lessons he learned is every day you wake up in the morning, you take a shower, you dress up, and you show up. Even if you have no idea what you're going to do, just show up.
Show up.
Be ready.
Be ready. Wow. Born ready.
Yes. Do Kenyans buy... Do Kenyans buy local? Do we really buy local? Do we support our own? That's what we're going to be finding out in the next short while. And that's the question I'm asking you. When you look at your wardrobe, do you have any locally made attire? SMS is on 20316, WhatsApp 0786 316 316. It's in studio with us today for Lifestyle Friday. I have international fashion designer Kenyan Dongo with us, sharing with us her story. If you have questions for us this morning, 20316 is the SMS line. WhatsApp number 0786 316 316. Do Kenyans buy local?
Yes.
Huh?
Kenyans buy local. Yes, Kenyans buy local. And for the last few years, it has really improved.
Okay.
People are valuing what is locally done.
Yeah.
And we have good designers and good products locally. I think it's just a perception that anything local is not of good quality.
Yes.
And yes, I do believe that there are areas where some of us have not been able to deliver quality, but there is quality. There's actually quality in the Kenyan market.
Okay.
And I think Kenyans need to brace themselves because there's a directive that we must wear local every Friday.
Oh, really?
So that goes to the question, are you wearing local?
Maybe.
You see? Yeah, that one. Yeah. Moving forward.
But there's something you've said there. There's a perception that local is not quality.
Yes.
But that has been a truth for quite some time.
It depends where you go.
We have this thing we love saying, all fundis are the same. Fundi mzuri ni kinyozi. Mnamalizana hapo except stima iende. Because people who do any kind of fundi work, whether they are making clothes for you, making shoes for you, doing plumbing in your house, they have many stories. Of course. They promise you heaven.
Yes.
And what they give is even beneath hell. It's not even hell, it's just...
beneath hell.
Yes.
I do acknowledge that, it's true, people say fundi mzuri ni wanywele, because at least you have your head there and then you have to go with your head.
Yes. But
then the one for nguo and beds and shoes, they'll tell you kuja leo, kesho, and then you find his stall or her stall is closed. Ayuko ashiki simu. And as a business, for me as a Christian, one of the things that we must do, I asked myself, I have to be different. How different am I going to be?
Okay.
We have to deliver what we promise that we deliver. We have to keep time. So our client know that we have appointments. We work on appointments.
That's good.
We give you an appointment. You will be able to come and see us on appointment, and we are able to deliver. And things do happen. Sometimes things, either you didn't have power, you're not able to meet the deadline or anything. It's our mandate then to take that action and call the client in advance. Communicate to the client. Because I think what is lacking is a communication to the, because sometimes things do happen. Yeah. There's nothing that is, works sometimes 100%, but it's upon the fundi or the business owner to always communicate to the client.
Okay.
One of the principles that we have in our business is when you bring your fabric, assume you bring your own fabric to us. The fabric is 6 yards, and we are using 3 yards. We will give you back your 3 yards left.
Ooh, hallelujah.
We pack your outfit plus the leftovers, the vitambaras. We will give it to you so that you go and use it. And for a long time, I've been in this for quite some years.
Yeah.
Clients kept telling me, Akinyi, this is so different. I've
Very
never
true.
known that there's material left.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, why would I use your fabric? I wouldn't even sleep, you know. And all my employees, I tell them, you know, it is so serious.
Yeah.
We take our clients so seriously because without these clients, there's no business. And they have options.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, they have options.
Yeah.
So if someone comes to you, know they have other options. So either you treat them well and serve them well. And what I've learned, people don't mind paying so long as it's quality and delivered well.
That's the next question I was going to ask you, because asking a few people around whether they have anything local, you know, they mentioned two extremes.
Yes.
They say, I don't have why. Well, fundis, sometimes their quality is not good and they're not dependable. And the ones who have quality and it's dependable, they are way too expensive.
It depends on how one looks at it.
Yeah.
I would give you an example of what I'm wearing. It may look very simple. It has a very clean finish.
Yeah,
like
I
you
can
don't
tell.
you don't have threads hanging everywhere.
Yes.
The material, the canvas that we're using, the interfacing is high quality. It's not something that when you wash it, sometimes it's going to bubble up.
Yes.
The quality of threads, we have to look at what thread are we using for what particular fabric. There's a lot of work on it. And just to give a picture of what designing involves, if I'm doing this jacket, I call it a benga. It's very easy. You can wear it anywhere, and we have different colors. Number one, I had to sit down, think,
Yes.
create a design in my head,
Yes.
and then put it on paper, sketch it, visualize, look at, is it viable? How am I going to produce it with the end? What material am I going to use?
Yeah.
Then there's something called pattern drafting. Pattern drafting is now when it's like architecture of clothes. So I'm not going to put a fabric and just take a scissor and chalk and cut.
Yes.
I have to do the pattern drafting. And pattern drafting, I have to do it in sizing, either small, medium, large, extra large. And once I do that and everything, I have to do something called a tech pack.
Tech pack.
A tech pack. A tech pack is when I have all those pieces together in pieces of paper with seam allowances, with notches, with, back, front, collar, all these pieces put on a place.
Yes.
Then I have to come back and say, okay, I have all these pieces. This is a tech pack. This is where the button is. This is where the zip is. The zip is from here to here. It's to scale.
Yes.
And I went to school for it. So I'm not just waking up and deciding this is what I need to do. And after that's one outfit. I have not even started producing.
Yes.
And then from there, by then you'd have known which fabric are you using, what are the accessories that you need, and then you now do the cutting. And when you do even before I do the original, the one that I'm sending out, I have to do something called a toil.
Wow.
I have to sample it first.
Yes.
In maybe a not very expensive fabric to feel, to see the look. How will it look?
Yes.
And from there, then I have to do a sample of the real thing and see how will it feel. So it's a process. So these are some of the things I think we need to educate the public that to be a designer is not a walk in the park. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
Yes.
And the products that we buy, we pay taxes on our fabrics. If you import fabrics or you get the fabrics, the taxes are very high. There's a time when I think the EPZAs were given a chance to sell stuff at KICC.
Yes,
there were lines
I
and
was
lines,
there.
and a jean is going for 100 shillings or 200. Believe you me, I cannot produce a jean of 200 shillings.
Yeah.
If I go and buy a material, it's the cheapest would be 450 per meter. I need maybe 1.5 meters to create. I have not put the buttons, the thread, the zip, the power, the fundi, all that. There is no way it's going to be 200. Okay. And why could they pay 200? Because there are people who are producing in numbers, and they import their things without duty. Everything, their machines, their needle, their thread, everything, because they're in EPZA.
Yes.
They don't pay duty on those things.
Okay.
So we cannot compete.
Okay.
And when someone is importing, again, things from, we say you have places like Isili, that this is, we don't know whether they pay duty or not.
Yeah.
And you know how sometimes Kenya is, somebody maybe gets, so you can't compare. So designer, people have to understand that the reason why our prices could be different is that it takes a lot of work.
Yes.
And we don't have the capacity sometimes to produce in millions, you know.
Okay.
So if, like for our brand, we produce limited editions. We don't produce
Which
mass.
also
Yes.
gives it more value.
It gives
because
it more value.
It's not
Yes.
something you can get at every street corner.
Exactly.
And many of us love things like that.
Yeah, and Kenyans are very
Vitu
unique.
ndio niko
And
nayo.
women, like especially women,
Especially
if I
women.
see you, if you walked in here and we had the same jacket, I would go back home and
Spoil
change.
your day.
Yeah, but for men, they would
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, buddy,
Nice
nice
suit,
suit, man. We look
Yeah.
the same, you
Yeah.
know." So it's variable. But again, I don't want to advocate for expensive, and we need to understand there's everything for everyone. Each one of us have to understand,
Yeah.
where do I fit in?
Okay.
There is the demographic, what is your price point? If you look across, you'll find designers who will sell their stuff between 500 to 2,000. You can still film something from 4,000 to 10,000. I had 50,000 to 30. I mean, it depends on what is the size of your pocket, or what do you value, or what are you looking for. So there are choices. So I think the perception that we are just expensive for no good reason, it's not true.
It's not a right
There's a
perception.
reason. Yeah.
Okay. Several things I want us to be able to tackle before we run out of time. You've been able to build a brand.
Yeah.
How does one go about building a brand? Because I see people who are creative, they have a good concept of design and whatever it is they are doing, but they just stay at that fundi wanguo level. They are not able to build a brand so that when you mention this brand, people can be able to identify with it. What goes into putting a brand together?
It's a lot of work. It's commitment, it's consistency, it's hard work, it's credibility as well,
Okay.
and it's built over time.
It doesn't happen in a week.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen. I've been in the industry for close to 20 years,
Okay.
and going international has been the last 5 years,
Okay.
you know.
So it was
And
15 years of consistency.
Consistency, and every one of my clients will tell you,
Yeah.
from the ones I started with, they'll say, Akinyi has been consistent.
That's good.
You're not jumping here or there, and
Yeah.
your policies are consistent,
Yeah.
your style is consistent, your qualities, you keep improving all the time. And the people who will push your brand are your clients. And our business has grown through our clientele.
Okay.
Word of mouth is powerful. So if you're not credible, whatever goes out there as word of mouth is wrong.
That becomes your brand.
That becomes your brand.
Aha.
So you have to build a brand. It's a lot of integrity,
Yes.
grit, consistency. However hard it is, keep pushing. People will believe in you. And the clients, some of the clients that I have currently, are people who've watched me for the last 15 years without giving me an order.
Wow. They've just been monitoring
They've
your
just been
consistency,
monitoring the
your growth.
consistency, the growth, and now they say, you know what? I trust you.
I trust this brand.
You can be trusted.
Wow. That's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Tell me, what do you think are some of the factors that are hindering the growth of the fashion industry in this nation today? I remember when I finished was it class 8? Yes. I went to Nanyuki. My uncle was working for Mount Kenya Textiles, and just seeing how they produce fabric. And I don't see those things anymore.
Oh, that's the saddest part, but there's a light. I was in an event organized by the Office of the President 2 days ago, and one of the PSs did mention that we need to stop lamenting and work on what next.
Yeah.
And the person who was finally doing a vote of thanks saying, let's get from lamentation to revelation.
I love that. Yeah.
So it has happened. It's a fact that things did happen, and most of the factories were closed, and then we had Mtumba starting to come in,
Yes.
and people thinking that something imported is more important than what is done locally, because initially we grew up
That's what we grew up on.
We grew up on things that are being staged.
Yeah.
And you could have a long one, so you grow with it. Then
Yes.
if it's short, you give it to the next sibling.
Yes.
So where we are now as a nation is a very critical point for us, and even as a creative industry, because there's a revival of the cotton industry in Kenya. The current government is trying to revive the cotton industry, so there are farmers, the cotton belt area, people are starting to do farming.
Yeah.
Rivertech, the revival of Rivertex, there's a 6 billion investment in that factory, and they have machines that are now producing fabrics locally.
Yeah.
So we are going towards the right direction. So we need to just figure out how then do we fit in? How do we educate and I like the CBC education system right now.
Yes.
Parents are complaining, are we doing homework for our kids? That system is very great because it involves you and there's creativity in it. So I think we need to look at it in a positive way. Yes, we missed those days, it happened, but then moving forward, what do we do?
What can we do?
We have the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya initiative that was started. And are you buying Kenya? Are you building Kenya? Your tea, is the tea Kenyan? Is your shoe polish Kenyan? Is your toothbrush or whatever, is it Kenyan? And if we don't have them, why are people not creating? If you're importing toothpicks,
Surely.
Toothpicks.
Toothpicks of all things.
Nobody's doing toothpicks locally.
Yeah.
That's a business opportunity. It's getting to how many trees do we have, little things falling off the branches? There is so much that we can be able to do as a nation. And the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya initiative is a strong thing. And also, as I sit here, I'm privileged to be the chair of the Kenya Fashion Council.
Yes.
And we are working closely with the government on how to implement even Fashion Friday. Because there's a directive that every Kenyan must wear a locally produced outfit on every Friday.
Wow.
So again, it's upon us to start educating the Kenyans what is local, because local doesn't mean it has to be bright kitenge. What is local? You could still have a suit that is maroon like what you're wearing, but it's local. So we need to understand what is local and how to, and orange economy, the creative economy is the way to go.
Umesikia, orange is the way to go.
Yeah.
Finally, you mentioned you do something on mentoring.
Oh, yes.
Why do you do that, and why is mentoring?
Mentoring is a very, very important thing for me, because as I built my brand, I had challenges and nobody was there to help, per se. And I said, out of the challenges that I had, I've come up with solutions. So how do I share the solutions that I have?
I love that.
So I mentor under Fashion Agenda Africa. I have an institute. We give certificate and diploma in fashion and design under MEFA Institute of Design. We have got a kids fashion school called Wanawatindo, where we have kids, because I figured out we need to nurture the talent even when they're children. So we are located on Riara Road. That's where our institute is. And for the brand, we are at Safer Towers. Book an appointment. You'll find us on social media, on every area, but generally having a whole value chain of fashion, because that's where my calling is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. We
Asante.
appreciate you. Thank you for coming.
Thank
We hujatuma salamu hapa, tunatumaga salamu.
Oh, tunatuma
Kabla
salamu. Okay,
kipindi
sijatuma
haijaisha.
salamu.
Tuma salamu.
Niangalie kamera gani?
Angalia ile kamera.
Kwa Wakenya wote nataka kuwasalimia na ninataka kuambia ya kuwa tuvae vitu manguo zimeshonwa locally. Enda usupport fundi wako.
Good.
Support the local products, wear local designs. Yes, we are working on we are going to improve our quality and also be very intentional in serving you.
Wow.
So, build Kenya, buy Kenya, build Kenya.
Awesome.
Yeah. Na leo ni Fashion Friday. So if you're sitting next to someone who is not wearing a locally produced thing, mwambie Akinya amekuona.
Akinya, thank you so much for coming through for us today. My producer, I know you're watching the screen. Are you wearing local? Davis, my director, are you wearing local? Yes. No, Davis, no. We will talk about this. Thank you Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. A big thank you to my team. You've been amazing this week. My producer, Munda, my director, Davey, and the camera crew, everybody, thank you for making this possible. And for you, our partners, we appreciate you. I'm out of time for today. Next week, on the Devotional Hour, we get to hang out with Pastor Daniel Kamande. We'll be taking another look at prayer and the power in prayer for you and I as believers. Otherwise, have a great weekend, and buy Kenyan, build Kenya.